So let it be written, so let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors. My name is Tim, and at Tabletop Terrors, we think that everyone can be more creative, and we try to use D&D and other role-playing games to prove that. And so, if this is your first time here at Tabletop Terrors, be warned. This is a very casual, rambly vlog. So, if you're looking for something in the way of better content, as far as not quite as off the cuff, go to the last couple of videos. We did a couple of interviews with WebDM. Those guys are amazing, and there's some really good information in there. So, I'll also be answering comments and walking. What does that mean? It means I'll be out of breath, and I will be referring to my screen, and as often as I can, I'll let people in on what I'm reading on the screen so that you can be a part of that too. But it's a conversation. We're hanging out. I'm gonna let people jump in here for a second before I start with these stories, but I want to tell you, these are not stories that happened a long time ago. These are things that I happened to mess up like in the last 3 days. And so I just want to talk about that. And how, honestly, how to respond to mistakes. And that might sound ridiculous, but as game masters, this is a really good skill to have. And sometimes, if we're too hard on ourselves about the mistakes that we make, then it can change the tone of the entire game we're running, or the encounter, or the whole night. And so, I just want to give you these 3 pretty huge mistakes, at least interrelationally, between my brother and I, and we'll kind of go from there. Let's see here. Hey, a fistful of dice is here! Look at that Rebel insignia. I'm a Star Wars. Dude, I love this shirt. You see, it's all the ships. Like, this might be my favorite Star Wars shirt. Like, listen, I'm a rebel. Kristen Pagini is here. Bronitis, he says, it is Star Trek, not Star Wars. Geez, get your facts right. I love both. I was raised on Star Trek. So, I'm gonna spin you a yarn, okay? This happened on Sunday. Now, I wanna just paint you a picture. Sunday, every Sunday, I go over to James's house and we film Tabletop Terrors. That routine begins at about 2:30. And we go and we get energy drinks and we break the ice. We kind of just talk. So, if you imagine, this is the setup for our day. This is us sort of catching up. And so I walk into his house and we film in James's office. Now, he typically doesn't go through there. I'm gonna jog across the street. He doesn't go in there much during the week. But I walked in, I set down my computer, I set down my little bag that has the microphone and the webcam in it, and there was this huge cardboard box on the table that we always film on. So, now I've seen this before, this cardboard box, but I thought he did like mini painting on it. So I see it there, and I go, you know what? I'm gonna be helpful. And so I go, hey man, this cardboard box is still here. And he goes, yeah. So I pick it up, and it's pretty big. It's broken down. I probably wasn't clear about that. It's been broken down so that it's flat on the table. So it's a very flat, just piece of cardboard that's covering about half of the table. So I think, I'm gonna be a helpful brother, and I'm gonna move this box. So I pick it up, and I turn. And when I turn, I realize that this box is too big to walk through the door. So, I turn it sideways. Okay? I turn it sideways. And as I do, I hear what sounds like the clattering of 100 insects just falling, and as James rounds the corner, he has a look on his face of shock and horror as I have spilled the 1,000-piece Fallout puzzle that was in between these 2 pieces of cardboard. What do you do? What do you say? I turned it sideways and the entire puzzle fell crashing to the floor. And those pieces that sounded like chittering insects was essentially the currency of hours spent toiling away. And it turns out that this was not a box, but it was 2 large pieces of cardboard designed specifically to move a puzzle. So, I'm gonna tell you what happens next, but first I wanna go to the chat. The first comment that I saw was Matt Click of a fistful of dice. It says, "Tim, you monster." Oh, you're not wrong. Oh God, Matt. I felt terrible, okay? Now, let's read some more comments because I want to tell you what happens next. Hey, William Getz is here. Lawrence Kentworthy. Kristen Pagini. Kristen Logie, what's up, man? He says, "Go on, tell us your foibles." Anastasia says, "What's up, Tim?" What is up, Anastasia? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Heavenly Hit Point says, "What is a good way to explain D&D to someone who has no idea what any of it is? I'm trying to get more of my friends into it, and it's not really a big D&D community where I live." I'm gonna give you that tip in a minute, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you that this is what I'm thinking. This puzzle shattered to the floor, and we have the Web DM interview. This is a channel, I don't even remember what their sub count is at this point, but Web DM has something in the neighborhood of like, I don't want to get it too low, closer to 75,000 than 25,000, we'll put it that way. So immediately I feel terrible, but I'm also thinking, oh no, my brother is pissed at me, and now there's no way in the universe that this interview can go well because I've just made the biggest mistake that I could make. Now, to those of you who have been following Tabletop Terrors for a while, you probably know the Bad Robot statue story, which I will tell at the end of this video. That is the third thing. But I'm thinking all of these things at once. I'm having like that hot feeling come over me and I'm like, oh my God. So one thing I know from experience in life is to not make excuses, to apologize only, and shut up, which is something I don't do often. So I decided to do that. I said, and I meant it, I said, "James, I am so sorry. I am so sorry." And then I just shut up because what he was doing, and he sat down and he's like assessing the damage. So this is just terrible. He's sitting in the wreckage of this 1,000-piece puzzle. And I shut up. I just shut up. So finally, he looks up at me and he says, "What did you think was in between this cardboard?" And I just said, "I thought it was a box." Simple answer. I didn't make excuses. I didn't keep going. He goes, "Why do you think I move it every week?" And I said, "I'm too busy setting up the computers to realize that you move it every week." So apparently, when I picked it up off of the table and turned it sideways, the chittering of the like Starship Trooper bugs covered up the fact that James was saying, "Don't touch it, I'll move it." I didn't hear all that. So, as a minor reprieve, very tiny, I found out that the puzzle wasn't in fact fully assembled. In fact, there were probably 3 or 4 chunks, and then they had separated all the pieces. Still doesn't make what I did any better. It's just less damage. So, why am I sharing that story with you? Well, one, because it's hilarious. I think it's a great story. For me, for James, not as much. But I just want to say that really, and this is in a D&D game, the outcome of that afternoon was up to my response. I made a mistake, and I could have done a few different things. But the best thing was for me, in this case, was to communicate how I felt and then shut up. Now in a D&D game, if you make a mistake, now when I say mistake, I'm not saying, "You're correct, that is a D4. Wait, what?" I mean, let's say a character dies. This is the circumstance that immediately popped into my head was, that could ruin the night, especially if it's early on in the game, something happens. I think it's important to not let emotions jump in, because I immediately wanted to defend myself, but that's not wise. It wasn't a good idea. I shouldn't have said, well, I thought it was a box. Why was it here anyway? Why didn't you tell me it was a puzzle? There were a lot of stupid things I could have said, but I knew being quiet was the best answer. So how do you handle situations like that at the table if a player dies? Or, I mean, something, it has to be something that would really make a player bummed out or upset. What do you do? Because my thought is, make sure you keep cool, and God bless James. Listen, I respect him more than ever because he didn't yell, he didn't shout. Eventually he looked up at me and we kind of laughed about it, and then after some time had passed and we had talked a little bit, only then did I make the bad robot statue joke. And all right. Again, I'm flipping through the comments, I hit my thumb, all the comments appear, and the first one I see is Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice, who says, it's the bad robot all over again. He knows. Oh, Philip Matty says, oh man about sums it up. Kristen Pagini says, I'm making a map now. Oh, that's killer. That's fantastic. I would love to see that map, as I'm sure all would. So if you're interested in sharing, if you're ready to share, share it on the Tabletop Terrors Facebook page. That'd be killer. Anastasia says, I feel the cringe from all the way in the Midwest. William gets one of those moments you realize you just screwed the pooch and there is nothing really to do about it. See a sitcom scene on my head. Lawrence Kenworthy says, and you're the oldest, Tim. I know, there's really no excuse. Bill gets his good story. Riders of Rohan says, usually I blame mimics. Would have told him that the box came alive, and I did what any good man would do. I put it down. I feel like my brother James is not someone who I would classify as a violent person, but there's a guarantee here attached to this. If I would have made a joke of any kind, I'm fairly certain he would have punched me in the face. Because we're sitting on the bones of a bad robot statue here. This is not fresh blood. This is fresh blood spilled on top of a treaty. Heavenly Hit Point says, so don't mean to rush you, but did you forget my question? No, I didn't forget your question, but I wanted to finish that entirely so that everyone watching kind of got some wrap up. Now I'm going to tell you about the second huge mistake I made. But before I do that, I do have an answer to the question. I would show them a video of Penny Arcade playing at PAX. That's it. I would say, hey guys, there's this really cool game, and it's really difficult to capture the essence of it, but it's somewhere between a board game and us telling a story together. I'd like to show you some so you can kind of get the feel for it. And then I would show them some packs. Now, some would argue you should show them Critical Role. That's fine too. The reason why I like packs is because a lot of people already know who Penny Arcade are, so that there is this borrowed credibility of, well, if these guys think it's cool. Now, conversely, some people might know who Matt Mercer is. You know, he's very famous too, so that's your call, but that is the best way to do it. And I would not make them sit through a whole game. I would probably, let them sit through maybe the beginning, 10, 15 minutes tops, and just explain like, hey guys, I just want to show you like 15 minutes so you can kind of get the gist. And I would do that together. If you can, I wouldn't send them a link, because what you're doing is you're borrowing the credibility also of playing at that table and feeling that energy. So having everybody in the same room and like watching it on a YouTube app on a television, that would be killer. So that would be my recommendation. I also throw it to the audience, the viewers, you amazing people. What would you suggest is the best way to introduce Dungeons & Dragons to a group of people who don't really know what it is? That is the way that I would recommend. Let's see here. Okay, so Matt says there's also a great D&D beginners video on this very channel that goes over the very basics of RPGs. Matt is right. if you type in learn to play D&D, the first 3 videos, which are, they're about 40 minutes, 45 minutes each, but they will walk you through from knowing nothing about RPGs to having a good baseline understanding. So really good point, Matt. All right, now into some more dish. What else did I do? What other huge mistake did I make? All right, so like I told you, we're interviewing the guys from WebDM, who are just amazing. They're awesome. If you missed those live streams, go back to like our last 2 videos. But so I have it set up, and we're gonna premiere this new series. We have this new series called Masters of the Dungeon, where we ask dungeon masters these kind of like top 10 questions about their prep and their gaming philosophy. And so I'm really jazzed about this. So we sent them the questions beforehand. Now, these guys were gracious enough to also say, hey, in addition to this thing we're gonna record privately, this Masters of the Dungeon segment, we'll also sit in on your community live stream. And so I was like, oh, that'd be killer. So our community live stream is most Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's called Area of Effect. And so this is something you'll see is very evident when you watch these 2 videos. So I get everything pulled up, and I have 2 events, 2 YouTube events. And if you don't know what that means, you basically just have to set up, it's very similar to Facebook events, your live streaming event, and then you click basically that event and you go live, and that's how you record it. So I go live on the wrong event. So I'm sitting there, we've got WebDM, we've done some introductions. I'm like, hey, I'm really jazzed. I go live. Now I go live on the stream that's supposed to happen at 5 o'clock, called Area of Effect. So I do a whole intro. So let me read, so let me done. Blah, 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 blah. And James goes, hey, we're live. And I can't explain to you the feeling that I had. This feeling of 3 months worth of planning, getting our schedules lined up. I just ruined it in 1 click. That's how I felt. I felt, okay, well, I just ruined it all. So there are some people, and the way that James figured it out was he saw the icon, he saw that we were live, and he's like, people are starting to comment, and he realized. So again, I had a couple of choices to make in that moment. And this is why I feel like this is a pertinent topic, because as dungeon masters, we all make those mistakes that maybe not are quite exactly this, but the feeling is the same. Whether you botch an NPC name and reveal a secret, or you accidentally kill a character, or your reveal is messed up because you said something in the wrong way, whatever that is. The point of this video is that it's all about the response, because in the grand scheme of things, if you just move on and fix it, no one cares. But if you dwell on it and beat yourself up, which I have a huge propensity to do, then the mistake becomes bigger and it becomes more negative. And every time you beat yourself up about it in that moment, you're just loading more into that mistake until it gets huge. And then it's difficult to turn back, and you're sullying something that you could just gloss right over. The whole stream that we had been planning with WebDM, in my mind, was over. Sounds stupid, right? But in that moment, this is a mistake that I made. This is something that was because of me. So, and you should watch the videos because I think it's hilarious, but essentially, I had to make the decision in my mind, so what? So what? So let's do Area of Effect right now. And we did. And it was awesome. Because the guys from WebDM are awesome. And because instead of beating myself up and sulking, I decided to, you know what? Let's just work with what we have. And if you can adopt that mentality for Dungeons & Dragons or any role-playing game, your games will be better. That is a guarantee. because how we respond to what we consider a mistake is going to set the tone of the night, and maybe even the session, and then, you know, even and then maybe even the campaign. And so, you know, that's honestly the second thing, and that's something that I thought was super important and that I wanted to share with you guys. I went live on the wrong stream and could have let it just beat me into the ground, and then we just, you know what, it actually shaped the entire way that we're gonna do Masters of the Dungeon, because now we're just like, you know what, let's just make it a live stream where everyone can talk to these guys. So the format of the video changed. So instead of me recording it, pulling it down, editing it, we're just gonna do them live from now on. And so you'll see these on Sundays. And if they're around, I'll have these awesome dungeon masters. We'll start with the Masters of the Dungeon, and then we'll slide right into Area of Effect with a bunch of questions. So anyway, that is the second time that I messed up. I'm gonna go to the comments again, and then I'm gonna tell you about the third time that I screwed up, and this is taking it back to the infamous Bad Robot statue. Whew. let me say this, I did not feel like walking today because it's a little warmer and I was a little more tired, but it's one of those things where, you know, Matt uses that quote to perfection, which is, I don't like writing, but I love having written. I don't like exercising. I think James has said the same thing, but I like having exercised. You know, so anyway, so I'm out here hoofing it. Do not feel like this right now. Do not feel like it. I feel like sitting in my car, listening to some music, but Heavenly Hit Point says, Crungeons and Cragons, baby, referring to our beginner series. He also says, also, how do I deal as a DM with the players trying to become the chosen one? My brother tries to be super OP all the time and kind of ruin certain things. That's a really, really tough question, and I don't think that I can hit all of the answers in this stream right now without derailing it, but I would want to know some more information. So, and you know what? In fact, I'll do a stream on that tomorrow. It probably doesn't help you now, but if you can just message me some general information about your campaign, specifically how many players are there, how old is your brother, and how experienced is he with Dungeons and Dragons. Because if he's one of those people that is not experienced, as you mentioned before, he has been trained by every video game he's ever played to have that mentality, and it's unfair to expect something else unless you set a different expectation. So that would be my quick answer, which is he has been groomed to be this way by media, every movie that has this chosen one hero, like Star Wars, you know, the video games he plays, etc. So, but if you give me some more information about the campaign, I can kind of do a stream on it, which is really, truly about making sure the whole story is collaborative. That's really it. Anastasia has a really good question to add on to that. In what ways? Mechanics-wise or story-wise, as far as the OP? Bill Gold says, love how you tie that into a game lesson. Yeah, man, that's what, it's crazy what we can learn about everyday life that'll help us in RPGs. Because at its core, RPGs is just relating to another person and communicating an idea and learning to compromise on the fly. It's just incredible social skills. I just said social skills. It's incredible social skills. So, all right, I'm gonna hit you with this story. A lot of you have already heard it, but I'm gonna tell it today. This is the third way that I messed up. This is a big one. Look at what James has to put up with. Dude, I feel terrible now. But, so if you've ever seen The Provokers, it's a campaign that Matt Click runs on his channel, A Fistful of Dice. And, you know, first real campaign I ever played in. I have a blast. Love that game. But for one reason or another, I think my internet was down, or yeah, I think that's what it was, is that not even that my internet was down, but to play where I was playing, the internet's no good. So I would go to James's house. So I'm playing in that same office that I destroyed his puzzle in, and you know, we're taking a quick break. It's just a 5-minute break. It's to go to the bathroom, right? So I get up and I flick the lights down in the office. He has a light switch that is it's not an up and down light switch, it's a bar that slides on a slider. So, anyway, when I do that, and then I swing the door open and I lean out, I hear this like thud. And I swear to you, I didn't touch the bookshelf. I didn't. And I was nowhere near it. But what I believe is that statue, there's this, so Bad Robot is the production company of J.J. Abrams, and he released a limited edition sort of collectible statue of the red Bad Robot. And it's about the size of my head, we'll say. And it's gorgeous. And so that robot was sitting on the shelf. So when I open the door and I go to like lean out, something that I did, my essence, the wind from the door, I don't know what it was. I don't think we'll ever know. But it felt like a bum rap because I knew that I didn't hit the shelf. And so it was just like, whoa, but this Bad Robot statue falls from about my height, which is about 6 foot. And it breaks. And that's another one of those situations where I'm in the middle of a game. So now in that situation, I was not quite as learned, and I took the choice to shout back at James, like, I didn't do that. Like, what? Because he was very upset. And because I shouted, because I escalated it, and it wasn't like full-blown, like, but I said, dude, I'm so sorry, but I'm telling you that thing fell by itself. And he's like, how could it have fallen by itself? You know, we started going back and forth. And I was just telling him, I was like, listen, I'm really sorry. I gotta get back to this game. So we had some time apart. It was very difficult for me to come back and focus on the game. I just kept having that like hot feeling of I just broke the statue. I'm gonna give you the stinger. He was able to put most of it back together very seamlessly. A lot of it didn't like shatter, it just broke in a few pieces. But the antenna on the head, to this day, sits in a Ziploc bag next to the statue because it's very difficult to put together. And so I tried to look it up. I tried to see what it would cost to replace my brother's statue. And just Google it. Go on eBay, go on Amazon, and look up J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot statue. The last time I checked was just before Christmas, and it was $700 because it was such a limited edition. Oh, it was from a convention, by the way, so that makes it even worse. So anyway, that's the third way that I messed up. And you know, in that particular instance, I was able to push through and play and focus, but gosh, it was really hard, and I felt, like I said, just horrible. So as you can see, I'm not a great brother in some ways. All right, I'm gonna cross the street here. No, I'm not. We got bogeys. We got bogeys. It's a green light. It's the fuzz. Oh no, I don't want to cross paths with this guy. He's a panhandler. I don't want him to handle my pan. Hold on. Panhandler. How do I go? I jumped. All right. I have to catch up on the comments. I had a very light lunch, so I feel really hungry. Really hungry. Bill Gold says, I saw birds down by the beach today, and it made me think things I can add to my role-playing scenes, RPG scenes. Exactly. Heavenly hit points. He kind of interrupts everyone and stuff. So, that's common courtesy, which we'll get into tomorrow. But, yeah. Lawrence Kentworthy says, The Provokers is amazing. Everyone watch it now. I had a blast playing it. And then Dylan says, I can easily watch The Provokers over Critical Role. Love their style. We definitely have some joking around, but the level of jokes is a little less, and we focus more on the narrative, and that's just a different flavor. That's a different style. So that's what we do with the Provokers. So it's a lot more kind of story and role play, and with the occasional ridiculous joke. Don't get me wrong. Hawking 1997 says, "Can't you ask JJ for a new one?" You know, I hadn't thought of that. I'll throw it out there the next time we're playing racquetball. Bill Getz says, "Well, we're all bad brothers at times, or sisters." And I say, Tim, how long did it take you to get comfortable just talking to a camera outside? I'm gonna share a secret with you. I've never been uncomfortable with it. I'm a very outgoing person. So always, I've never had a problem with that. I'm just very outgoing. Oh yeah, it's very important to mention, Matt Click mentioned, the next Provokers, if you want to catch up, is February 11th. And I don't want to spoil anything, but we have set the stage. And when I say we, I mean Matt and our decisions has set the stage for some big, high adventure. And I'm just really excited to have such a scope to the campaign that feels really natural. And you know what? I'll just stop and say, me DMing is mimicking Matt and then changing a little bit. Just say, well, this is a Tim style, but I'm basically taking the skeleton of how Matt DMs and just copy him. So if you want to learn how to DM, just go watch the Provokers and just write down what he does. And so at a high level, say, okay, he opens by asking the players this kind of question, or he opens with a cutscene, or dude, just hack that all day. I work in it, I play in it, so I don't have to worry about having to go back. Hi, what's going on, Syntax AI? It's really, really good to have you. Riders of Rohan says, Provokers, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's true. And Matt says, when Tim first visited me in Washington, he was filming on his phone at the grocery store. He just does it. I do. If I had one concern, it's that other people don't want to be on film. So I try to be pretty careful about... Sorry, I just had to scoot across the street. I try to be pretty careful about filming others because some people really aren't comfortable, and that is an invasion. So, Syntax AI, do you review tabletop games? We have done a couple of reviews. We tend to stay away from reviews because, I don't know, we just play a lot of D&D, and so we don't try a lot of new stuff to review it. So we would. I mean, we want to start doing more of that in 2018, but yeah, I guess we should. Let's see here. Lawrence says, Matt is an awesome DM. Anastasia says, man, I wish I had that kind of stomach for not caring. Oh, man. Chris I, hey, man. Just want to say thank you for those Idiot's Guide to D&D type videos. I'm trying to get my crew of friends off the consoles and get around a table with some brews and socialize. Thank you. You're so welcome, man. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming and being a part. And there's a ton more of those videos in the hopper we're going to release here soon. Fistful of Dice says, the thing about nowadays is most people don't spare a second glance if you're talking to your phone or filming. Everyone assumes you're talking to people. Exactly. A lot of people think I'm FaceTiming my wife. So if I ever go, hey honey, how are you today? You all just need to respond with good stuff back. Riders of Rohan says, never watch Critical Role. The episode count is too intimidating, but I might watch the new one. Exactly. Very smart of them to create a jumping on point. I have watched some episodes that Matt Click has recommended to me, and it primed me for this new season much better. And so I would recommend that, is jump in this second season. The character introductions are great. The play style is a lot of fun to watch. Kristen says, my friend just texted me, so what's up with this D&D schnit you've been talking about? I got one! That's what it's all about. Listen, Matt, I feel like Matt's here. And not just in the chat, I feel like I'm hanging out with him because I'm talking about him so much. he actually just posted a picture saying that he showed a D&D shirt in Target. And I was like, I said to my wife, we're in the mainstream. When you see a shirt in Target of a thing, I was like, we're in the mainstream, baby. And good, man, Kristen, awesome. And all you got to do is just keep it fun, keep it interesting by making it a conversation. Don't make it as much of a, hey, let me teach you this thing. In our third Learn to Play D&D video series, we did something called Crungeons and Cragons, which is just this super laid-back version of Dungeons and Dragons. Try something like that, just to get the concept across. But, yeah, and Matt said the second season is a total clean slate, new continent, new characters. He said he never finished season 1 and he's super enjoying season 2. So, again, this is the time. If you want to watch Critical Role, you want to get in, you want to not be worried about that chunk of episodes to catch up on, maybe you'll fall in love with this one and be super happy that you have a ton to go back and watch. So yeah, those are the 3 ways that I messed up. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that it's applicable in some ways to something you're going through. If you like this sort of thing, I do it pretty much every weekday, and I just go for my walk, trying to lose some weight, trying to get more fit, trying to get healthier. And this is a way to do it and talk to you beautiful, brilliant people. So be sure, if you haven't yet, and you subscribe and then push the bell in the corner. It will tell you when I go live, which is typically between 2:30 and 3:30 is the start time every weekday. Anyway, like I said, go back, watch the WebDM interviews. They were a blast, and those guys are fantastic. Watch the Provokers. It's a really good way to even learn D&D as well. If you want to show people how a game of D&D is, the Provokers is just as good as PAX or Critical Role, in my opinion. So, oh no, Anastasia says it's currently 3 feet of snow, so they can't walk. And Syntax says, I'm currently thinking about starting to play D&D. Any advice you can give me? I would go to our channel, find the Learn to Play D&D series, and watch those videos. That's how I would start. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, everybody. It has been a blast. I love you all. May you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. And may you conquer everything you undertake. And until next time, may your dice roll high.